If I paid attention to my super at 20, I'll be $50,000 better off today. That mistake still stings.
If you are in business, they are protected from creditors. Obviously a good way to grow your wealth long term.
A lot of people think SMSF or super funds, wait till you're 60, retire, take the money out, that's it. But there is actually a lot of strategy that you can utilize with this.
Using leverage and obviously taking advantage of the low tax environment. Super funds are taxed at 15% and taxed at 10% if the asset's held for longer than 12 months, if you're thinking long term or investing long term, which you should be.
First thing, no more tax on unrealised capital gains. Tax will only be levied on realised gains for balances north of 3 million.
There's been an amendment that those gains above 3 million, they'll need to be realised gains, not unrealised gains. And good to see that there's finally some logic down there in Canberra. Welcome to SMSF Insider, where we help busy professionals to gain financial independence using an SMSF. Hi, I'm Troy, founder of Blue Chip SMSF Services. And over the last 20 years, I've helped thousands of Aussies manage the complexities of self-managed super funds. And in this podcast, I'll answer your questions, break down the myths, so you can take charge of your financial freedom. Let's get into it. It's just a quick disclaimer and just a reminder that this is not personal advice. So make sure you speak with a licensed advisor before making any investment decision. G'day guys, and welcome to this edition of SMSF Insider, where I'll be opening up some social media content and you'll be seeing my reaction to the content.
Now, when it comes to a self-managed super fund, let's first figure out what an SMSF is versus a traditional super fund. Now, a traditional super fund, which is most likely set up with your first employer and then you sort of keep the same one as you go through, is pretty much a fund that goes and invests for you. And this money can't really be touched until you go and retire. And for here in Australia, we call it a super fund. Overseas, it could be like the 401k, and retirement funds around the world are called different things. But effectively...
Yeah, so this guy sounds like he's explaining the difference between a self-managed super fund and a retail or industry fund. So yes, they are called different things around the world. In America, it's called a 401k. Here in Australia, it's called a super fund. And technically, a self-managed super fund is one that you manage by yourself or with the help of a professional, as opposed to a industry fund or a retail fund where all the investment decisions are made on your behalf. So which one is going to be better for you? Well, it depends if you want control over your superannuation savings, how much you have in super, what you want to invest in. So there's quite a few different moving parts before you can make an investment decision around which one's going to be better for you. So reach out to a professional and they'll be able to help talk you through which option is going to be more suitable for your particular circumstances.
If a death benefit is being paid out of an SMSF, and particularly if that SMSF is still in accumulation mode, there's two taxing events that occur. So the first thing is the assets essentially end up being sold in the SMSF so the death benefit can be paid out. So capital gains tax is payable on the sale of those assets in the SMSF. Now the SMSF only pays a low capital gains tax rate, but nonetheless capital gains tax is still payable. And then quite separately, once that benefit is paid out of the SMSF, depending on who the beneficiary is, if they're a non-tax dependent, so your adult independent children.
Yeah, so this particular guy is talking about the taxation on assets within a self-managed super fund or a super fund in general, should there be a death of one of the members, and how it will be taxed. So if the beneficiary is a non-dependent, so an adult child, for example, it will be taxed. And if it is a dependent, being a spouse or a child, then it is a tax-free payout to those particular beneficiaries. It'd be interesting to see if Jim Chalmers starts taxing dependents of death benefits. That might be one that he's targeting next, but hopefully not. But that's what this particular gentleman's talking about.
Had a great crypto question the other day. How do I avoid paying tax on them? What's the best structure? If you're making crypto profits by buying and selling and trading, you're going to pay tax on them anyway. If it's in your own name, it might be that your tax rate's much higher. So if you're really a very active trader, look at a company structure, because it gives you the flexibility. If you're looking longer term, which some people are at the moment with Bitcoin and other cryptos, it is feasible or possible to buy cryptocurrency in your superannuation fund. There are limits, there are some restrictions, but people who have bought crypto in the super funds for the long term, when they've sold it, they've actually paid a much lower rate of tax than normal.
Yeah, so what he's talking about here is purchasing crypto in different entities, and one being a self-managed super fund. So we are seeing a lot of clients looking to invest in crypto using their self-managed super fund. It is a tax-friendly environment, so if you hold the asset for a short period of time, the maximum you'll pay is 15%, and if you hold the digital assets or the cryptocurrencies for more than 12 months, it's 10% capital gains tax. And if you are thinking long-term, then and you're holding those assets longer term, all the way through to pension phase, then zero capital gains tax. So that's one way of avoiding tax with crypto, is hold it longer, buy it through your superannuation fund, and hold it all the way through to preservation age.
12,000 people are currently missing a collective $1 billion because of some dodgy super scams. So here's how to hopefully make sure your super fund isn't a scam. Quick side note to say that I'm absolutely horrified by what's happened with these dodgy super funds, and the most terrifying part is that some were recommended by financial advisors. It's a massive systems failure. And
yeah, so we saw recently where a superannuation fund, our clients invested, I think 1.2 billion or thereabouts, recommended by advisors, or a couple of advisors, into this particular fund, which turned out to have things like inter-party related loans and lending money to the directors of these particular companies. It was only one or two advisors. It's not to say that all advisors are like this. It's typically only a very, very small percentage that make it bad for everybody else. And this is a perfect example of that. So I wouldn't go throwing the baby out with the bathwater by saying that every advisor is like this, because they're not. But certainly it is a sad state of affairs to see this happen to people's retirement savings. Maybe the rating agencies for these particular funds in general should have played a more devil's advocate with these particular funds, and maybe dug a bit deeper on these funds before allowing them onto some of the mainstream platforms. These intercompany and related party loans that were going on probably could have been picked up with a little bit more due diligence. So, hopefully we don't see any more of this, and hoping that there is some repercussion, and hopefully some of these retirees can get their money back. Just quickly, guys, if you're a busy professional, fed up with traditional super funds and overwhelmed by the setup of your SMSF, we can help. Book in a call with my team using the link in the show notes, and let's build your future on your terms. Now, back to the episode.
If I paid attention to my super at 20, I'll be $50,000 better off today. That mistake still stings. And if you ever thought,
I'll deal with my super later,
this might be the most expensive habit you'll ever have. I'm David Mack, a chartered accountant, and I've helped hundreds of business owners use SMSFs to lower their tax bill, protect assets, and grow long-term wealth.
Yeah, so self-managed super funds are a great way to protect wealth. They are protected from, if you are in business, they are protected from creditors. It is obviously a good way to grow your wealth long-term by maxing out your concessional and non-concessional contributions, and certainly getting started sooner rather than later will serve you well long-term.
A lot of people think SMSF or super funds, wait till you're 60, retire, take the money out, that's it. But there is actually a lot of strategy that you can utilize with this. Property investment is one of them. Borrowing money using SMSF, so you can use your borrowing power to extend your growth. The 15% tax rate is amazing as well.
Yes, so this gentleman is talking about growing your superannuation or your retirement savings using a self-managed super fund, using leverage, and obviously taking advantage of the low tax environment. So super funds are taxed at 15% and taxed at 10% if the asset's held for longer than 12 months, which in most cases they are if you're thinking long-term or investing long-term, which you should be. And also all the way down to a 0% tax rate if you hold the asset all the way through to retirement. So a great strategy, gearing, low tax environment, those two combined, two powerful tools for a long-term investing.
Property in your super sounds smart, right? You think no impact on your personal lending, tax perks, long-term retirement growth? And you think, sounds like I've hacked the system, right? But here's the catch that nobody tells you guys. Unless you know the SIS Act from your elbow, you could be buying a compliance headache in a trust structure you don't even understand. And don't even get me started on all the property spookers on IG, LinkedIn, and even YouTube selling 6% return to the side of legal disaster. In this video today, I'm unpacking the reality of using your super to buy property.
Yeah, this guy's talking about buying property using your SMSF, a strategy that's been around for quite some time. And certainly when you are using this strategy, your investment returns or how your fund returns will ultimately be determined by the property that you purchase or the asset that you purchased and how that's going to grow for you. So be mindful of the assets you're purchasing when you are using this particular strategy. Make sure you're getting some guidance around the assets you're purchasing, because ultimately the success of that particular strategy will ultimately come down to how the underlying asset performs over the longer term.
Hot off the press, just rushing to record a video on this. There's been the major changes announced to the extra tax on big superannuation balances. Let me spin the camera around and I'll take you through a summary that the Financial Review has just published. First thing, no more tax on unrealised capital gains. Tax will only be levied on realised gains for balances north of 3 million.
What James is talking about here is the recent backflip by the Treasurer to we talked about recently about unrealised capital gains taxes for balances above 3 million. So what's happened is the bill has been, there's been an amendment that those gains above 3 million, they'll need to be realised gains, not unrealised gains, which is a huge win and good to see that there's finally some logic down there in Canberra. But essentially, you'll need to sell those assets before the additional 15% is payable. So previously, you would need to, any assets over 3 million, regardless of whether you'd sold them or not. The government or the Treasury were going to be asking every trustee or every super fund to pay that additional unrealised gain of 15%. However, that has been reversed, and you'll have to sell. You won't have to pay that additional 15% until you actually realise the sale, which completely makes sense. In addition to that, it's been pushed forward. It was supposed to begin this year. It's been pushed out to July 1 next year, which allows people to do some planning around this particular piece of legislation that's going to be introduced. And then in addition to that, there'll also be balances, the super high balances of 10 million plus will see taxation of 40% for balances over 10 million. So there's a couple of changes there to be aware of. We did do an episode on this a little bit earlier, so feel free to scroll back and there'll be a little bit more detail on it. But good news of unrealised gains will now be realised, which is a great win for balances over 3 million. Anything under 3 million will just remain the same, just the 15% on balances under 3 mil. So no changes to those particular balances, just the ones above 3 million. So yeah, a good win for the hardworking retirees that have saved their whole life and got a bit lucky along the way. So thanks, Canberra, for finally seeing the light. So that's it for this edition of SMSF Insider. Thank you for listening. And if there's something you'd like to talk about or like us to talk about, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to touch on that in one of our future episodes. Thank you for listening to this edition of SMSF Insider. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of SMSF Insider. If you got value from this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the strategies we share to help you take control of your financial future. Find us on socials at Blue Chip SMSF or book a call with our team to see if we can help you.